used to call it winter blues, but today many call it SAD, or S-A-D. It's an acronym for, some of you know this, Seasonal Affective Disorder. Essentially, it's a form of mild or severe depression that occurs mostly during winter when there's too much darkness and not enough light. The lack of sunlight results in lower serotonin levels in the brain, and symptoms include feeling low, being excessively tired, social withdrawal, irritability, and carbohydrate cravings. Sounds an awful lot like December 26th, if you ask me. But it is a serious matter. It's an issue which researchers are still trying to understand its causes. In Canada, 4% of the population experiences severe symptoms, and 15% mild symptoms. That's almost 1 out of 5 people. But there's another type of SAD, another type of SAD, that 100% of us experience. And that has to do with the impact not of physical darkness, but of what we might call metaphysical darkness. And this impact is not seasonal, but can be felt spiritually, psychologically, and even physically 12 months a year. You see, this world is a dark place. You know this. It always has been. I love history. I love reading about history and watching documentaries on history. And one sad truth is that the history of humanity is soaked in blood. Every age, every culture, every nation has a lot of darkness in its story. But history aside, we all experience the present in a uniquely intense way. Darkness can be manifest in when we hear news of wars and famines and natural disasters. We hear of abuse and crime, human trafficking, terrorism, the attacks in Bondi Beach last week. Hate and racism, greed, political division, to name but a few things. And here's the thing, we get immersed in it every day with the constant news cycle fueled by the truism that if it bleeds, it leads. It's incredible if you think about it. No generation has ever had to constantly consume and digest the bad news of the entire world, not even just every single day, but every single hour. And so all this comes at a cost. All this darkness being brought close to us costs us much. Because we're not just dealing with all that stuff way in other places. We've got our own stuff to deal with that swirls around us. We've got our own darkness. Even the most heartrending news stories may seem distant, remote to us, but we still experience darkness in and through our own relationships. We can experience hurt and betrayal, anger, unforgiveness, indifference, hopelessness, despair, grief, heartbreak. I know you thought, I came here to be cheered up tonight. But it's true, isn't it? We experience these things. We experience heartbreak and loneliness. And we experience that darkness isn't just out there, it's around us. And it's not just around us, it's even in us. We're all broken. We all fall short. We all fail to live up to our own standards. We are all what the scriptures call sinners. Alexander Solzhenitsyn, I've quoted him before in my homilies, was a Russian writer and prominent critic of Soviet Russia and the communist system. And towards the end of the Second World War, he wrote a letter to a friend of his that was moderately critical of Stalin, of Joseph Stalin, and he was imprisoned in a Soviet gulag for 8 years. And he witnessed and experienced immense cruelty and suffering. He became a Nobel Prize-winning author. He once said this: "If only it were all so simple. If only there were evil people somewhere insidiously committing evil deeds, and it were necessary only to separate them from the rest of us and destroy them. But," he said, "the line dividing good and evil cuts through the heart of every human being." And who, he said, is willing to destroy a piece of his own heart? Here's the truth of the matter. The darkness is not only out there, it's also in here. We glimpse it in our own flashes of selfishness, anger, and pride. We experience it every time we treat another human being as a means to an end, even in the most subtle of ways, and every time we give into our biological hardwiring for self-preservation. Most bitter of all, we experience it when we find ourselves unable to do the good that we truly want to do, and end up doing what we don't want to do. Whoops. See that? I forgot that. This is good. I can aim the different sections. But that experience of, have you ever had this? Like, you really want to do the right thing? Like, you don't. It's not that it's I have to do or I should do the right thing. But we actually want it, and we don't do it. You experience that? Thanks. I was beginning to think I was alone up here. And see, all of this darkness, whether it's far away, brought close by the news, or whether it's around us or in us, all of this darkness makes us sad. Deeply sad. It can take our hearts. It can seize our souls. We paint smiles on our faces and pretend everything is great, and we reduce a profound question, "How are you?" to a meaningless greeting that requires an immediate response of, "Good, how are you?" We've all done it. We medicate the sadness with the trappings of success of whatever product or drug or culture is selling to bring temporary relief. In our first reading tonight, we heard the reading from the book of the prophet Isaiah, who said this: "The people who walked in darkness have seen a great light. Those who lived in a land of deep darkness, on them light has shone." Now that is a word of hope to people who walk in darkness. See, human beings have always walked in darkness. Tonight we heard the familiar Christmas story about the manger and the angels and the shepherds. But tomorrow morning at Christmas masses all over the world, the opening words of the Gospel of St. John will be proclaimed. And we will hear that the true light was coming into the world. The light shines in the darkness. It shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Brothers and sisters, the darkness is dark indeed, but it does not overcome the light. The darkness is real, it's very real, but it has not and it will not overcome the light. It doesn't win. Not out there, not around us, and not in us, if we choose the light. And the light spoken about here is not just a metaphor for hope or an aspiration or goodwill. It is a person. Because Jesus said, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Now, this theme of light overcoming darkness is not just one way to consider the Feast of Christmas. It's actually the original way. It's actually the inspiration of Christmas. Now, I'm going to tell you something that I hope doesn't come as a surprise to you. You ready for this? Jesus wasn't born on December 25th. I mean, it's not his birthday. It's the day on which we celebrate his birth. Similar, but different. And Christians have celebrated his birthday on December 25th since early in the 4th century. In fact, it was the first known occurrence is 336 in Rome. It was a feast day set by the Pope at the time, December 25th. And the reason for that date is that it was a pre-existing celebration. It was a Roman pagan festival called Sol Invictus, which is Latin for the unconquered sun, which was their celebration of the victory of light over darkness. So these are primal themes, light and darkness. And that date was around what we know in our culture as the winter solstice. We know about the winter solstice. Now, the winter solstice is the shortest day of the year. That means it's the one day of the year that has the least amount of light and the longest period of darkness. But after the solstice, the darkness begins to decrease and the light increases as the light comes into the world. Now, you may be thinking, well, wait a minute, wasn't winter solstice a few days ago? Yep, that's right, December 21st. But you see, we use what's called the Gregorian calendar, which was introduced by Pope Gregory the Great in the Middle Ages. For the first 1,000 years or so of the church, we used what was called the Julian calendar, which in that calendar, the solstice was on December. Oh, come on. December. Oh, yeah, but it's amazing. You guys knew that. December 25th. You see, the early church chose intentionally to celebrate the birth of Jesus as the coming of the true light, the great light that would shine on those who walked in darkness. The church chose to celebrate this truth on the day when everything would begin to change, when the light would no longer shrink, but would overcome the darkness and be victorious. In the Gospel of Luke, one of the other accounts of the life of Jesus, the coming of Jesus is described in these words: by the tender mercy of God, the dawn from on high shall break upon us, to give light to those who sit in darkness and in the shadow of death, and to guide our feet into the way of peace. God's mercy or tender compassion is the reason for the coming of the light. So if there's anyone here tonight who has ever sat in darkness, who's ever wondered if God is real or even if he cares, the answer, I believe with all my heart, is yes, he is and he does. The answer to those questions is the very person of Jesus, who wants to free us from the oppression of darkness, the darkness that's in the world, the darkness that is around us, and the darkness that is within us. He wants to free us and to guide our feet into the way of peace. I learned about SAD, sad, from someone who struggles with it, seasonal affective disorder. And he has a special lamp on his desk, And it's called believe it or not, it's called a sad lamp. Now, this is a very happy thing, the sad lamp, because it helps. That's not the guy, that's some guy from the internet. Anyway. But that's a sad lamp up there. The lamp makes a difference. You see, the simple truth is that the only way to flourish or even survive with so much darkness is to expose ourselves to the light. And so I want to conclude tonight by inviting each of you, all of us, to get more light in our lives. Perhaps some of you are here tonight and you're not sure about what you do or don't believe about God, about Jesus. And if you're here tonight, I'm sure there's a great story about how you ended up here. But I'd like to invite you to explore the Christian faith. It could be the most important thing you'll ever do in your life. If you're interested in a no-pressure, fun way to do this, we'd love to connect with you after Mass, or drop a line at our website, and we can follow up with you after Christmas. Perhaps you're here tonight, and this is your annual visit to church, or your biannual visit. And if that's true, welcome. We're thrilled. I'm thrilled that you're here. This is home, and I'm so happy that you're here. You're most welcome. But here's the thing: there's so much more. There's so much more that the Lord has for you. There's so much more that the Lord wants for you. We all need light in our life. And my invitation to you would be to consider joining us for Sunday Mass. We do this every week. It's wonderful. We're a growing community. We have over 800 people who come on a weekend. We'd love to connect with you. Finally, the rest of us, the invitation is simply to go deeper. Here's the curious thing about drawing close to light. The more you draw close to the light, the more you see. And the more you see, you realize, I need more light. And so it's always a call to go deeper and deeper and deeper. There's more even for those of us who have been following Jesus for a long time. And regardless of where we are spiritually, Jesus, the light of the world, is coming to each of us. Each of us assailed by darkness, to renew our hope that this darkness, no matter how dark it is, shall never overcome the light. And that SAD, sadness, will give way to peace. Amen.